First, though, breaking news in the south suburbs. A federal indictment just announced against the former deputy police chief of Dalton. This is Lacy at a recent village board meeting. He's now charged with bankruptcy fraud. Lacy is accused of scheming to hide assets and income from creditors and trying to avoid paying a lawsuit settlement. He was fired as Dalton's deputy chief just last week. This comes as the village's finances are under investigation.
Well, it's happening just the way that I told you it would happen. I told you that the feds was going to move in real slow. They was going to take their time. They was going to build cases on a whole bunch of other people that's a part of her administration. So now the ship is leaking oil. I'm talking about there's big holes all around the ship and oil is coming out. The ship is sinking. And Tiffany Henyard is left scrambling now, looking for whoever will be there to help save her. So now Chief Lacy is being indicted. But I told you guys after Keith Freeman was indicted that it was going down months ago when the former police chief was fired because he called out what we see happening now with Chief Lacy. Former police chief called this out and he was fired. So he took a job down in Florida, but he spoke to Fox 32 some months ago, bringing attention to what she was doing with her police detail. It went something like this.
A former South Suburban police chief is blowing the whistle on the embattled mayor of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard.
Yes, Fox 32 has investigated Henyard's use of a police security detail, taking officers off the street and costing thousands of dollars in overtime.
And now the former chief is talking about it exclusively to Fox 32's Dane Placco.
Yeah, Mayor Henyard fired her chief of police late last year without any approval from the village board. So now Robert Collins has filed a lawsuit against the village. And tonight he's talking exclusively to Fox 32 about what he saw on the inside.
The manpower was just very stressed and critical to the point of almost breaking, having to provide officers on the detail rather than have officers out patrolling the streets.
Former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins spoke to us from Florida, where he's taken a new job. But he says he remains frustrated by what he experienced leading an undermanned, overworked police department. Demanded a large personal security detail.
You know, wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for their actions.
Last year, Fox 32 investigated Henyard's detail, following along as Dalton police officers drove her from morning till night, often to her second job as Thornton Township supervisor in South Howland, racking up hundreds of hours of overtime, costing taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting the mayor.
At least 2 and as many as 4 officers at a time, he says. Collins says the security detail was warranted when it started in 2021, after a police-involved shooting sparked protests in the community.
And at some point, the protests stopped. The things going on around the protests all eventually stopped. However, the detail continued.
But now he says it's turned into more than just security. Officers are being used as Henyard's personal valets.
So we all remember when former trustee and her top aide, right next to her, Keith Freeman, he was indicted. He was one of the first ones indicted when the ball started to roll, right? Now we're hearing that he may be the person that's flipping. But Keith Freeman was indicted for bankruptcy fraud. Hiding money, hiding his assets and his income. The feds came right in, but he had already had a tumultuous history. He had already been arrested before in different states. And again, I asked the question again, how did he even get in this position? Y'all remember this with Keith Freeman?
A high-ranking administrator for both Dalton and Thornton Township is charged with fraud connected to an alleged bankruptcy scheme.
The village also completed negotiations with the police patrol, police lieutenants, and the sergeants.
Right here you see Keith Freeman, who sits next to embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, discussing finances at a recent village board meeting. The U.S. attorney accuses Freeman of concealing assets and incomes from his creditors. He faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted. We reached out to Freeman and various Dalton officials, but have not yet heard back.
So just the other day, we know that the police chief was put on administrative leave, but he showed up to work Lacy showed up to work the next day. He said that they didn't have the power to basically fire him or put him on leave. So then they fired him, right? But he had already knew that he was under fire and they were coming for him. Because he wasn't even supposed to be getting overtime. But he received more overtime than his actual salary. I mean, this is how crazy it was. But again, former police chief blew the whistle on this. And it didn't go on deaf ears. The feds was watching the whole time. They was just letting her bury herself because she's at the head of all this. So if these people are going to fall, Tiffany Henyard's going to fall. There's no way she's going to be able to say, well, they did it and I had no knowledge of it. She allowed it. She allowed it. But now the feds done swooped in. They dropped an indictment on him. So now once you got him and Keith Freeman, the whole ship, the ship is just leaning to the side now. But let's look at what the news had to say about Chief Lacy.
Starting off with breaking news here at 6, the acting police chief of Dalton now facing federal charges. A grand jury indicted him on bankruptcy fraud charges today.
He's a close ally of Dalton's embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard and the second of her top aides to face a federal indictment. WGN's Jenna Barnes is live for us in Dalton this evening with the latest. Jenna?
Ben and Micah, Deputy Chief Louis Lacy indicted on bankruptcy fraud charges. He's accused of concealing his income from creditors, filing misleading statements as they sought to recoup nearly $90,000 in unpaid debts, this all dating back to 2015. He's also charged with making false statements and perjury. Lacy is a close ally of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the second one to be indicted on bankruptcy fraud. Henyard ally Keith Freeman faces the same charge, and we're told he is now cooperating with the trustees who were investigating Henyard, and some believe him to be a whistleblower. I spoke this afternoon with Lacy's attorney. He called today's charges a witch hunt designed to get another Henyard ally to turn on her in this ongoing investigation into her spending.
That's exactly what the U.S. attorney does every single time. They start with people that they believe that they can flip. They go down the line. They show up at 6 o'clock in the morning when a person is not lawyered up, when a person is just waking up, and they're telling you, oh, I'm here to talk to you and be nice to you and don't worry about it. And you're not under arrest. And then we're going to leave and we're not going to arrest you today. But here are some questions that we have for you. So immediately a person puts his foot in the mouth and from there, the fish is caught.
Is that what they did with Lacy?
To a certain degree, yes.
Lacy's employment status here in Dalton a bit cloudy right now. Last week, the trustees placed him on paid administrative leave. He told me he was continuing to show up to work after that because they didn't have the power to put him on leave. The village then sent him a termination letter, and I'm told he kept showing up even after his firing. Much more to come on this indictment tonight at 9 and 10. For now, we're live in Dalton. Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
Thank you, Jenna.
So now we get to Lori Lightfoot and her preliminary findings. And in her preliminary findings, she didn't have to work real hard. All she had to do was go down and talk to the former police chief and then follow the trail. And what we saw was these police officers, one made $13,000 and one paycheck. Unbelievable. Tiffany, can I get a job? Can I work for you, Tiffany? Man, can I be on that police detail? I mean, they was making spookoo money. Just riding around being her personal chauffeurs. As she was putting up billboards of her stuff all over the city. Tahoe Tiffany had a police detail. Man, listen, they done took trips. Man, their wives is being extra good because they making a lot of money. Their wives ain't doing no talk back. There's no problems in the house, nothing. Man, they was make $13,000 check for a regular working man. Oh, his wife is the nicest woman on the planet. All thanks to you, Tahoe Tiffany. But let's look at Lori Lightfoot's preliminary findings, which we all saw, and let's revisit it.
We wanted to highlight for you, particularly given overtime, what we saw as two outliers in officers, Officer Terry Young and Officer William Reed. Both of these individuals in the last 2 years have earned more in overtime than their base compensation. And you can see these numbers here. Officer Terry Young in FY 2023 earned $194,290 total, given the base salary and the overtime. And then in FY 2024, that increased to $227,351, combining the base salary and the overtime. Officer Reed, for FY 2023, had a total earnings of $145,450, and in FY 2024, $192,732. We thought it also important for you to know that Acting Chief Lacy has accumulated overtime. It's our understanding that he is not part of the collective bargaining unit and has not been for some time, which under normal circumstances would mean that he is not entitled to overtime. But as you can see here, for FY 22, FY 23, and FY 24, and we're now in fiscal year 2025, through those 4 years, he has accumulated $215,747,000 just in overtime.
So we're hearing that Keith Freeman is possibly the whistleblower, but he's not the only one, because you had a former chief of staff. You have so many people that's going to come to court and testify against this woman. She is French toast, fried, died, and laid to the side. It's a wrap for her, man. And she know it. That's why she's doing those videos talking about I'm outside and I'm, but she's going through it. That boyfriend of hers, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets indicted next. Because like I said, these people were taking on salaries and making a lot of money, stealing a lot of money from the township, but they was hiding the money. They were hiding the money. And this is why they get in the fraud. So Keith Freeman was the architect and showing them how to do it. Now he's telling. So they're going to come after that boyfriend because he had a 6-figure job working in Thornton Township when he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have had the job. So now I guarantee they on that. So once they hit him, listen, they just crumbling it from within. She going down, bro. That $500,000 check that she signed, that I showed y'all months ago, it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. That's why I said, just be patient, man. The feds take their time. They like to move in and man, they comb the streets, man. They just come in real slow, and they don't go after you right away. They go after everybody around you, man, because they want everything to fall. And once you got the people around you telling you're done, you're cooked, it's over. Stick a fork in you. And she deserves everything that she get, man. She deserves everything that she get. The things that she's done to the people of Dalton, they don't deserve that. And there's some people behind the scenes that also should fall on the sword. Andrew Gonzalez, you should fall on the sword. There's some other people. And I'm going to say something controversial too. Some of these trustees I don't trust either. I want to really know, how did she get in that position to even do all of the stuff that she's been doing? Who voted for her? Who nominated her for the seat? She should have never been in a position in the first place, but here we are. She's there. And I've been saying this stuff for some time now. And there's a history of corruption that's been going on in that city, and it's just coming out, man. It's just coming out there and in Thornton Township. And I hope that the people of Dalton and Thornton Township can learn from it. Now, in closing, people will say, well, you can't let people that look like us in position. I disagree. There's thousands of cities across America where there's people that look like us that we don't even know who they are. You know why? Because they're doing a great job. They're running their cities. They're running their cities. That a town of 21,000 that the world knows who she is, that means she's doing something wrong. So we have a lot of people that can actually go in and do the job, but we just need to get those people in those positions. So if you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.